Hello, beautiful people. My name is Donna Sinnott, also known as Boob Donna. I am an internationally board certified lactation consultant, also a certified birth doula and postpartum doula. And you are tuning in because you either are in the hospital or home from the hospital, the birth center, and your nipples are killing you. Okay, so this is all about how do we work on the sore nipples. So first thing we got to do is we treat the pain. The second thing we do is solve the problem. What creates sore nipples? It is normal in the first 72 hours that you feel, that baby latches, you feel a good pulling, tugging for the first few minutes. It should feel better after the first few minutes when the baby gets moving and grooving, okay? If I were asking you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being toe curling pain, how does it feel after the first 2 minutes? If you say to me it's like a 3 or a 4, I'm going to tell you, especially if it's your first baby, that's a little normal in the first few days for those first few minutes, okay? You will sometimes get advice that says your nipples shouldn't hurt at all. There is a little human that is repeatedly sucking on you constantly, and some of you are a little more sensitive than others, and that's okay. The key is, it is breastfeeding, not nipple feeding. Remember, some babies are sleepy babies where they don't want to open as wide as they can and stick their tongue out as far as they can. If there is initial latch pain after the first few minutes, the next thing I want you to do is peek and tweak the lips. We want to look down and have that baby as wide as you think that baby can get. Now, sometimes people ask, the nipples in the middle, the dark parts of the areola, do I need to get as much of my areola? No, you need to look down and see that the baby is as wide as he or she can be. So one way to fix that is to get on in there with your finger and unhook and then relatch. But the step you can try before is it being something you can do, nurse can do, partner can do, is you get in there and you push down on their chin and you pop that bottom lip out. In my opinion, the number one reason that mommies are sore is because that lip is slipped in. Some of these babies have big juicy cheeks and juicy fat pads in their cheeks. Strength of the suck can come with the fat pads in the cheeks. Now, that initial pain from juicy cheeks will get better as the more milk arrives after that third, fourth day and you start to flow. The baby's type of suck will change, but that initial latch is something you have to get comfortable with. So when the baby gets a couple minutes in and still feels bitey or pinchy, the first thing you want to do is get on that chin and flip that lip. And you may have to be mean. You may have to push down and really get them wide, pop that lip out. You should feel instant satisfaction. It should feel a heck of a lot better after you flip that lip. So you're settling into the feeding. Now what happens sometimes is that baby just starts to fall asleep. I want you to do two things. We want you to keep them moving and keep them grooving. It may feel mean to bug the baby, but the more they are wide, tongue forward, and actively sucking, you're going to feel better than when they stop and they start. So one trick you can do is whatever position you're in with your free finger or somebody can help you, tap a chin. Why would tap a chin help? Because your nip is somewhere on that baby's tongue, hopefully as far back as where the hard palate meets the soft palate. But if they're not opening wide and they're hanging back, then you want to push down and get them as wide as possible. And you can tap their chin while they're sucking to encourage them to keep moving and grooving, okay? The second way to keep a baby moving and grooving is you're gonna scratch the back of their head. Now, babies have a soft spot on the top of their head, so we're not digging in with our fingers there. But in the lower part of their skull, back of their neck, you can scratch the back of their head pretty strong and encourage them to keep moving. Now, if you start just gently scratching their head, you're gonna put them to sleep. But you want to bug them and you want to keep them moving and grooving kind of thing. Normal to have a little initial latch pain, a little after the first few minutes it should get better. If it doesn't, I want you to peek and tweak. And then if there's reasons beyond those things, the hope is that when your milk starts to change over from teaspoons to ounces and it's flowing, then it's going to feel a lot better. Reasons that it might not. On mommy, we may need to treat the nipple discomfort or the nipple breakdown. If I were checking out your boobs and you had what looks like a blister on your skin or a compression stripe, what does that mean? Is that sometimes when babies are falling asleep at the breast, or that sometimes they come off, if your nip looks like a new tube of lipstick, then the tip of your nip is going to be more pointy. If that improves over the first few days, you're going to be okay. But if the tip of your nip starts to have a stripe, and it could be reddish, could be purple, hopefully not scabbed, then that tells me either A, the baby is not as wide with nip flipped, or B, we're missing a tongue issue. With babies, we want them to open wide and stick their tongue out as far as they can over their gum line. If you have a baby, and about 10 to 15% of babies have this little thing under their tongue that's a little tight, called the tight frenulum. If they can't get their tongue out over their gum line and suck you in, that pain will not get better, and it's something that you need to discuss with the pediatrician, or sometimes pediatric dentists can assess that. Other reasons you would be sore is mommy breakdown. Okay, so there are levels of discomfort. We have to treat the pain. So the first thing you can do besides working on the latch and checking out the baby is a little hand expression. Once again, booby juice heals all. So if you squeeze a little milk out, let it air dry for a few minutes before and after the feeds, that's going to have healing properties. But the minute you put on your sexy new tank top or your bra is when the rubbing and friction may happen. So the second thing is there are disposable breast pads, washable breast pads, but there are pads very specifically designed for sore nipples, and they're called hydrogel pads. Sometimes you will find that they feel like a nice little comfort cushion. You could put them in the refrigerator or the freezer before you slap those suckers on. There's a lot of different brands. Some are more disposable than others. And so that is also the next level of healing. The third level is creams and oils. So you don't necessarily have to go to the store to buy something. If you have coconut oil or olive oil, fresh, clean. If you like coconut oil, go for it. If you like more of a liquidy, like an olive oil, great. It needs to be like a food grade. And so that you can put on your nips, let settle in. And in this circumstance, you might put just a regular disposable pad, or you just, again, put a little of that oil on. But then there's specific nipple creams. There are nipple butters and herbal booby creams, all that's super groovy. Whatever you want to use is fine. And then there's also lanolin-based creams. Lanolin is basically chapstick for your nipples. It's just hypoallergenic, and it's a little thicker, and it's good for lips and good for nips. People steal it from my desk all the time at work. So the idea is that you can put that, and that's called moist wound care. It creates a little bit more of the barrier in between the feeds. It's something that you would put on after the feed. If you put it on and then all of a sudden the baby's hungry, it's not unsafe. You might just wipe it. It's just sticky. It's just messy. So these are all more food grade edible options kind of thing. Things we don't want things like over-the-counter lotions. We don't want necessarily something that you would use on a different skin condition. You would want to use something, if you have available to you, more natural creams and things like that. The highest level of healing, if you need it, it is something that is usually easier to get in the American and the Canadian and the Australian pharmacies. It's something called all-purpose nipple ointment. It was created by Dr. Jack Newman in Canada, and basically it has a little topical pain reliever in there. So you can just, a little booby juice, you can put a little hydrogel pads, you can use some type of creams, oils, or nipple butters. There is a prescription nipple cream with pain reliever, and it's something you can discuss with your OBGYN or your family practitioner that can help you with that. So in addition to all these groovy things that I'm telling you, the most important thing is get yourself an IBCLC. In the United States, it's uslca.org. If you're international, it's ilca.org. Or you can just Google up internationally board certified lactation consultant and find somebody local in your community. And it is worth your time and worth your money, because usually if there's something that is missing. There's some other piece, there's some other way that we can help you get through that. And there are other nipple conditions and things that may persist beyond. So I want to make sure you get yourself feeling good and feeling groovy. And then just know initial pain should always get better. It should be unbelievably better by the end of the second week as your milk starts to flow. Everything, keep them flowing, keep them going. You should feel better. So I hope you find that helpful. You got this. You're doing great. Welcome home.